Luca. Thank you for having me.
Delighted to have you.
Pineapple is my
Joe,
favorite.
you're not going with pineapple. Do you know how many people have gone with pineapple? 14 have said pineapple.
No, really.
Do you trust OSN to take care of my data? Do you trust OSN that they're not going to do something with that data that can impact me later on down the line? And
that's why we have to take it very seriously, like in terms of, your cybersecurity measures, in terms of your internal data policy, in terms of abiding to things like GDPR, etc.
As the Arabs in this market, when you start to fight for them, represent them, they will love you all the more for it. Do you think there is a reasoning that people, they think locally isn't as good as internationally?
I don't know if it's a quality thing. I think it's a habit, and I think it's changing as well.
Do you walk in every day feeling that everything that you say, everything that you do, everything that you potentially even wear is being so scrutinized?
Listen, at the beginning I did feel like an outsider. I've been told that probably this guy is here to shut down the company.
Today's guest is Joe Kawkabani. The content landscape is incredibly dynamic. Who better person to speak to than to someone that operates across linear TV, video streaming platforms, and now also with audio as part of their repertoire? If you want to understand the new content dynamic that we're all consumers of, this is the one episode you don't want to miss.
I'm Joe Kawkabani. I've been a quasi-entrepreneur and an investor for the large parts of the last 20 years. It's not the easiest to teach because a lot of people hate accounting and finance and numbers, but I hope I managed to get through the key concepts for people that are useful for entrepreneurs to start their businesses.
The media industry in the Middle East is not very different than the rest of the world. What we've seen in the last few years is the advent of streaming, whereby a number of streaming services launched in the region, offering customers a lot of choice. And that's been good for the industry because we've seen growth and we've seen an increased adoption. The change in technology really affected the landscape and really affected the customers.
But Joe, welcome to the show. Delighted to have you.
Hey Luca, thank you for having me.
There's a lot I want to talk to you about. First of all, you're the first guest who's ever brought me a mug from OSN, the branding.
Branded.
I love it. So thank you for this. I'm going to try it now. It's super hot. You can even see some of that.
Yeah, the steam is
coming
coming
up.
up. So this is a great coffee. I get it from a local roastery here. It's called Cypher.
Yeah.
He's an amazing guy.
Yeah.
And the beans you're drinking are from El Salvador. Yeah, it's really good.
Super light.
Yeah, if you compare it to like the usual Starbucks coffee,
yeah,
this is very different.
Tell me about your mug though, because obviously, I've asked you to bring in a mug. You can see behind you there's quite the collection of different mugs with different stories. What's your mug about? What's your story? Tell me, Joe.
Listen, it's a simple story. I never used to drink coffee. And then maybe 10 years ago, I was in London in Borough Market. And then there was this queue and it was freezing and people were queuing for a cup of coffee.
It's very English, by the way. Yeah. Queuing and freezing.
Exactly. And so a friend of mine told me, believe me, trust me, it's worth it. I'm like, I don't drink coffee because my idea of coffee was like this dessert, whipped cream and sugar and milk. And I tried it and it was like the first time I enjoy coffee.
Okay.
And then fast forward many years later, I became a total coffee snob. I'm not ashamed to say it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy my own beans, grind them. I have a setup in the office, a setup at home. It's like my beverage of choice.
Wow.
And any of my friends, when they travel, they bring me coffee beans.
I'm so glad you came with your own coffee because had you had my coffee,
Sorry, not gonna cut it.
So tell me about the actual mug itself. So where is this from?
It's from Monmouth.
It's from, okay.
Yeah, so I was in London a few weeks ago, and every time I go there again.
Yeah.
Not in Borough Market. They have another, the original branch is in Seven Dials. And I go there, get my coffee, and they give you these lovely mugs to keep it hot. So
very nice.
I kept it with me.
And married, not married?
I'm married. My wife is Joyce Baz. She also works in Media City and at Google. We've been married, I think, 10 years this summer. So, happily married.
When does she ever make you coffee in the mornings, or is that a bit of a...
No, we each make our own because... she's worse than me when it comes to coffee. Yeah. Joyce, when she travels, she carries her grinder, her beans, her scale. Yeah. We get looks at hotels wherever we go.
Yeah,
like this weird couple that brings in the whole kit in the morning.
But look, you're suited to each other, which obviously is important.
Hopefully, after 10 years, yeah.
Joe, I'm very excited to have you here. You're a remarkable person because you didn't get into becoming a CEO of a media company with the conventional kind of route. You kind of had a very different type of sort of background that got you into it, which I'm also quite fascinated about it. But beyond all that, you're also a bit of an extreme athlete, right? And fitness fanatic.
Used to be. I'm old right now.
It's okay, man. We will get there, by the way. We'll get there. I'm not sure who's older, but we're similar.
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of. You might be older.
A little bit.
So, starting off with OSN, because obviously that's where people know you from. The first question I asked you, what's it like to be a CEO? In the sense of feeling the responsibility and the weight of carrying a company, let's say, into the 21st century.
Listen, being a CEO in general is different from what I've done in the past. I've been more on the investment side. I've been a CEO of a company, an investment company, which is very different. Managing small teams of people, it's all about, getting investments done. It's very different. At OSN, we're 1,000 employees. We have, different locations. You got to build the right culture. You got to, set the right plans. And I've learned a lot on the job, I have to say.
Do you walk in every day to look, it's a beautiful office. You walk in every day feeling that everything that you say, everything that you do, everything that you potentially even wear is being so scrutinized because you're still relatively young, because you weren't naturally trained, you came from a different type of background, and because it's OSN, you have higher levels of pressure on your shoulders?
Listen, at the beginning, I did feel like an outsider. I was an outsider to the industry, and I've been told, I'm not guessing, I've been told that probably this guy is here to shut down the company. You don't bring a finance person, somebody from a private equity background in the situation we're in. I mean, a lot of people were betting like, this guy's here, give it 3 to 6 months, he's going to shut it down. So I felt like an outsider, but I was excited by the challenge. And 3 years now into it, I don't feel like an outsider anymore. I feel at home. I think we've done a lot of really good things at OSN. I'm very close to the team, and I don't feel that pressure anymore. To be honest.
A lot of people feel they have imposter syndrome when they first take a job, any job. Yeah. Did you have that when you took the role?
Yes and no. I think I knew I was new to the industry, but I had this, maybe call it unreasonable or foolish confidence that, yeah, I can do it. I can find a way. Because I've worked in many different industries in the past, and I had developed this framework of, analyzing and understanding businesses. So I didn't think it was going to be very different. I just needed some time to understand the dynamics, and then I'll get it. So, maybe it was foolish at the time, but I believed I can do it.
What was your first impressions of the media industry?
Oh, wow. Very different. The media industry, unlike other industries I've worked in, is not totally for profit, because you have unreasonable players in the market, right? So a lot of people go to media or invest in media, for ego purposes, legacy purposes, for political reasons, strategic reasons, influence, which makes the environment very difficult to read. Yeah. You don't see reasonable players acting reasonably at all times. And that plays out in let's say, whenever you bid for rights, whether it's sports or whether it's general entertainment, you see bids that do not make sense. And it makes it harder for companies like us, which are purely for profit, purely commercial, to make decisions and decide what they want to do and when to be aggressive and when to sit things out effectively.
Yeah. Usually, before I go any further, I always ask my guests for a safe word in case there's a question that they don't want to answer. What's your safe word?
You're the second person in the last 10 days to ask me for a safe word.
No way.
Not going to make the obvious joke, but it was... I don't like to stay late.
My mind just went...
Yeah, I know. I had to pull you back in. No, I don't like to stay late. And all my friends know that. And I was invited to a birthday party for a dear friend, and I had to go. So a friend of mine was also tired. So she called me. She's like, listen, we're going to go, but we need to make an exit. So you know what? Let's pick a safe word. And we picked pineapple. So when I tell you pineapple, we just go for the exit from that party. So I'm going to use the safe word again.
No.
Pineapple is my...
Joe, you're not going with pineapple. You can't be. Do you know how many people have gone with pineapple?
No, really?
Oh my God. I challenge you, right? Actually...
I have to go with pineapple.
Okay, I think over season 1, season 2, season 3, I think 14 different people said pineapple. Out of the 40 guests,
how did I not know that?
14 have said pineapple. So you're now number 15.
Pineapple like the safe word?
Look, there is a connotation around it. I've asked professionals why people are choosing pineapple. There is a sexual element around it, apparently.
Oh no!
And the connotations around it. So the bit when you were reeling me in,
I have to blame Hiba.
But you have to dig deep to understand that connotation. But for some reason, it seems to be the go-to word.
Listen, I hope I'm not gonna have to. I don't think I'm gonna have to use it today. So forget the safe word.
I love it. You should have gone with the other one. Look, I want to talk to you about the industry from a macro perspective before we get into it, right? Because there's conversation, a lot of people wouldn't know so much about OSN, how it's structured, some of the partnership deals that have been sort of brokered recently. By the way, congratulations. So if you can give us just a bit of a top-line macro view
on the industry itself.
On the industry, on OSN, before we get into some of these bad boys later.
Okay, so the industry, I mean, the media industry, specifically general entertainment, and in particular pay TV, which is what OSN is known for, has been going through a really tough time. And it's not only in the region, it's not particular for us.
No, it's a global issue.
This is a global issue. And why? It's very obvious. Streaming came, and streaming destroyed the value proposition of pay TV. Come anytime you want, leave anytime you want, watch whatever you want, whenever you want, for cheaper. Like, it's it's a much better value proposition.
On many devices.
On any device you want, mobile, wherever you are. Of course, streaming has its issues in terms of content discovery. Maybe it's not as easy as zapping linear TV, etc. But that destroyed linear TV, and it's been in decline. I think I read yesterday, in the US right now, streaming viewership is actually bigger than TV cable linear viewership. So all companies, big cable companies like OSN, big networks in the US that you hear about, had to adjust to that. And that's the big issue in the industry. The second thing is that, and that was not particular to OSN, is on the advertising side. While most advertising went to TV, to linear TV, for the big screen, because this is where, this is the right context.
This is where the eyeballs are.
This is where the eyeballs are. And you can look at the region, that has been also decimated by digital advertising and addressable ads, if you want. And that went all to the tech company. So you had two forces, one on the subscription side, one on the advertising side, destroying a whole industry. And then, which left players trying to figure out, what do we want to do? So that's, if you want, the macro environment. It's a global issue, not a regional issue. But companies like OSN everywhere in the world went through the same thing.
Yeah. So what's under the OSN umbrella today?
So today we've expanded. So we still operate the OSN channels, which are what we're known for. And we curate and get content from, we say it's the best of the West. It's, all the big Hollywood studios. We have big partnerships with Universal, with Warner Brothers, Paramount, HBO, Nickelodeon for kids, etc. We've launched streaming properly 3 years ago under the brand OSN Plus, which is now a pure streamer. And this is where the growth is in the business. We've acquired the majority in Anghami, which is a music streaming business that gives us also a different dimension. We can talk about it later. And we've also changed a little bit our offering on OSN to include OSN TV, which is an aggregator. OSN TV is today an IP box and a companion app as well, where you can aggregate linear channels, free-to-air channels, OSN channels, but also all your favorite apps all in one place. Because we feel that this is the big pain point for customers now. They don't want to go to 6-7 different places to watch their content. They can go to OSN TV, and through OSN TV they have access to their favorite content.
What has the Anghami adoption, if you like, the takeover? What does that give in your business that you didn't have before?
I think so. The most obvious thing it gave us is tech. The Anghami team, the Anghami tech team and product team is superb. It's probably the best I've seen in the market. I had been looking at them and talking to them when I was on the investment side.
Yeah.
As an investor, I see a lot of startups, I see a lot of teams, and what they've done is really, really impressive. They're really good team, and we can see it right now. So what we got as OSN is we revamped and we have rewritten the code of all of our apps, and now it's all done by that team that we got from Anghami. And so the OSN you watch today, whether it's in 4K, whether the one with ads, all of it is built in-house by our team, which is something which was a big pain point for us. Because 3 years ago when I took over, yes, we had an app, but our app was built in a modular fashion, right?
Yeah, it's a legacy business.
It's a legacy business. It's how, you go in RFP and you have vendors and you have developers sitting in Poland and Ukraine and India and building pieces for you, some for Android, some for Apple. You want to make one change, you have to go again to all, now we're a real tech business with that team, and they're great. The second thing we got is a new dimension. And I'm not talking just about the music consumption. Anghami is primarily an AVOD proposition. Mm-hmm. It's a free app that I think they have lifetime 100 million downloads. And they have about 8 million active users on a monthly basis. All around. In complementing markets. So Anghami is bigger, let's say, than OSN in non-GCC markets. So it gave us this dimension to access that market and those users we didn't talk to necessarily before, and to monetize through advertising and learn that game, which is something that we can now, put on the side and decide whether we want to, double down on, grow into or not. The third thing it gave us is a different DNA. And I was very keen on in injecting or infusing that DNA into our business. So OSN is a big company with processes, with structure. We're supposed to IPO.
It's cumbersome. It's legacy built.
It's not cumbersome. I mean, it's a mature business. It was supposed to IPO, and everything we do is up to a certain standard and in a certain way. We operate with big budgets, and so on. And Anghami is a startup 10 years ago with a group of people that hustled their way. They work with very small budgets. And while we are a big company going to streaming, but our position in streaming is that of a startup. We're really starting a new business. So we wanted a little bit of that DNA. We wanted a little bit of that attitude. We wanted to inject it because it's very hard to build it in-house. And I feel that's something that we don't talk enough about, that we have right now as OSN, as part of the group. So this is what Anghami gave us so far. And I think there's a lot of areas we can even consider going forward, specifically in the thing that I said we've put on the side.
Yeah. From a branding perspective, if I ask someone, what do they think when I say that the brand name OSN, what do you think they think?
So I know, because we do these, research, and we do focus groups, and we try to talk to our customers. I think the immediate association is premium content. That's what we're known for. I think it's probably a message that we've reinforced over time. Premium content, the best of the West. And I think this is what OSN is known for.
From a business perspective, where are you still relying predominantly on subscription-based to drive your revenue, or is there a shift towards advertising-driven revenue?
We are still primarily a subscription business.
Okay.
Whether it is on OSN TV or the channels or OSN Plus and part of Anghami too. And also we don't think we've hit maturity. We're still growing very fast. So, but at some point, if we want to expand our market, I think we'll have to consider advertising. And we're in a region that people don't like to pay for content, don't like to pay subscriptions, right?
You're telling me that.
Yeah, I mean, piracy, is killing everybody with IP. And a lot of markets, specifically if you want to step into North Africa or go to Iraq or go to Lebanon, people don't like to pay for content.
It's a cultural thing, wouldn't you say? I mean, a lot of people in the West, they don't think twice about paying $1 or $2. I was having a conversation with another podcaster, Hikmat Wahbi. I don't know if you know him, but he's a good guy. And we had this conversation yesterday, and I said to him, he told me, culturally, here, if you want to do an amazing piece of content, they just don't appreciate it locally, versus they're willing to pay Westerners, effectively, for the same type of content, the same quality of content, but here it's a much harder sell. So why is that? Is there an inherent reasoning thinking that the local produce isn't as good as the Western produce?
You're talking about local content.
Local content versus
my
Western.
point on piracy is it cuts across everybody. I mean,
that's 100%.
We're friends across the land. So local content in itself, because in particular local content started on free TV.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is where, we didn't have the HBO in the Middle East, the big networks where we paid subscriptions. People watch local content on free TV. Yeah. So they expect that to be free. And they're used to the ad.
Did they have that in the US or in the UK? I mean, again, you had ITV, you had Channel 4. Yeah. There was a TV license, I guess. So that was a form of subscription based. But everything else sort of came later,
Yeah, but they're used to
satellite TV, cable TV, that came there, but also it came here as well. So there was still a...
It came here through people like OSN. And we didn't have many players, right? We had probably one competitor.
It was Orbit back then, right?
It was Orbit and Showtime Arabia, right? And they merged together, and then they became OSN, and we had one competitor.
But do you think there is a reasoning that they think locally isn't as good as internationally?
I don't know if it's a quality thing. I think it's a habit, and I think it's changing as well. As you say, right now you do have options that are pay, specifically in subscriptions, and we see through our competitors that there is a growing share of subscribers that will subscribe to watch local content. Yeah. So that is interesting to us.
One of your big streaming competitors, Netflix, they've talked about they've made it very clear they're trying to get into the podcasting landscape. They see video podcast as the future, if you like, of a lot of the on-demand content that audiences want. What is your take on the podcasting industry, and how do you see that working with OSN Plus, really?
So first of all, I'm also very interested in the podcasting industry. I think it replaced a lot of the legacy, if you want, type of media. I mean, when you look at the US elections and you see where Mr. Trump focused on and where he gained the youth votes is through going on podcasts probably like yours, more mature in a market like the US. I consume a lot of podcasts. It's a video podcast. You can watch it, but also you can listen to it. And I think it does fit nicely in our strategy, in particular on Anghami, but then later on to build it on OSN Plus. We have 2 seasons of your show on OSN Plus.
Yes, you do. And And you know what? I was very proud when we signed with you guys for season 1 and season 2. It was because like you said, OSN has a premium branding perception. It was a proud day for both myself and for Rasha. But I generally believe it's just the very, very beginning. We're the infancy of what podcasting is going to look like, but it's going to be a video driven based industry. I don't see audio still being the lead. I see increasingly becoming more and more video. A lot of studies come out of the US where it says 84% of Gen Zers now, when they're consuming podcasts, it's video driven. They have to have a video asset alongside the audio, which is basically they're watching a video. And that's what I think is going to continue to grow.
I agree, but the audio is a good, it complements it.
Yeah.
That's how I use it, right?
Yeah.
I'd be watching something, but then the next morning I'm still in traffic. I'll continue listening to it a little bit.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, Joe. What are you listening to at the moment?
I mean, I listen to the international podcast. Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, Alex Connor. He's in philosophy. Like the
podcasters. I know a lot of them, and it's quite a small community here in the UAE. But they're hardworking. They're very, very creative, and they are hungry, which is amazing. Sort of hardworking, creative, and hungry. Those 3 together. You can do some amazing stuff. What I'm seeing now more and more is there's more cross collaboration happening with podcasters.
Have you seen?
So this is what I'm working on more and more.
I mean, cross collaboration. I think, but also you can take it to another level, right? And I think the adoption is still early here, and there are gaps in the market because not everything is fully addressed. Because we do look at the different segments of podcasts, like, we're missing this, we're missing that. But what's very interesting, have you seen Thamania in Saudi? They just got the SPL rights, right? I mean, of course, backed by SRMG.
Big news.
I think it's amazing.
The big news. It's a game changer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
Right, we've been keeping it up at 35,000 feet. Let's get into a little bit more of the detail. The show is going to be all yours now, right? You take control. Hi, everyone. I really hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Throughout my career, I've met a lot of people that have anxiety when it comes to public speaking. If you're someone that has that anxiety or nervousness and has always wanted to be more confident in public speaking, but you're also not sure where to go or how to start, the good news is I might be able to help. I have 20 years experience working in corporate communication. I'm a former regional CEO and I've helped to win over 80 different clients through new business pitches. With so many online trainings based on theory, I wanted to share what's helped me in the business world. I've launched my own training program called Master Pitch. The 7-module course covers everything you need to know, whether it's learning how to really understand the audience, how to deliver real impact, or how to effectively storytell. I've got it covered. With practical tips and real examples, you can immediately start turning that anxiety into confidence. Also, in a world of AI, there's never been a more important time to invest in your personal brand and in developing your public speaking. For more information, go to lucaallam.com or drop me an email at info@lucaallam.com. Right, let's get back to the episode.
TV, fade away into irrelevance or reinvent for resilience. Which is the real future? TV.
Linear TV, I'm talking.
Linear TV, okay. I mean, I think TV as a panel, as a mode to consume, I think it's there and will continue to be there. But linear TV, I think it fades away.
If there's a life support mechanism, how do you keep TV?
Listen, what's keeping TV going right now is event viewing, right?
The big shows.
Sports, mostly sports, and news. This is what kind of keeps TV a little bit going. Some kids. But I do think as those rights move to streamers and become more on demand on streaming platforms, I find it hard for TV to justify its position.
From an advertising perspective,
a
lot of clients are still spending on linear TV.
Yeah.
Because audiences are claimed to be there. But when you're watching TV, let's say you're a Saudi female, you're a Saudi male, you're an Emirati male, or an Emirati female, you're an Arab expat, female or male. When you're watching TV, how engaged are you on the actual TV? Because attention now seems to be the biggest metric.
So the proposition for a customer, I think, is better on streaming. But the proposition for an advertiser is better on TV.
Why is that?
Why is that? Because you engage more. Your attention, it's very different when you're watching a show, specifically premium TV, like the shows we have or the movies we have. If you're watching Oppenheimer, you're sucked in. You're watching it. You're looking at the big screen. Contextually, it's different. It's on the big screen. You're engaged. If you're swiping on one of the tech apps, left or right, I mean, the attention span is much shorter. Contextually, what you're seeing in videos before and after is different. So as an advertiser, it's a much more controlled environment. It's a much more premium environment. You know exactly where you're going and you're being watched, and the eyeball actually is more relevant and it's giving you more attention.
So you sacrifice on reach, but you get more on the attention.
Absolutely. But the way, I mean, programmatic ads, and when you go to I mean, you get a lot of eyeballs. You get a lot of touch points. I think one can complement the other. And I think advertising on streaming platforms or AVOD propositions will have a role to play, a big role to play. It doesn't mean that part is dead, but TV as you know it today, as in zapping, linear channel, I program for you, why do you need that? Why would you need that in the future?
Well, you have a lot of advertisers still buying the NBC One primetime spots, especially during Ramadan. They still see because the audiences are there. But those linear TV audiences, like I said, they may not be particularly well engaged. I mean, dual screening has been going on for a long, long time.
That's true.
But do you feel like advertisers aren't taking enough risks when it comes to investing and diversifying their investments to more things like streaming-based apps rather than good old-fashioned linear TV?
Listen, I don't know. What I mean? I don't know enough though, because we're not in advertising in a big way. But what I can tell you from what I know, today it's a question of inventory. It's not a question of risk appetite from clients. We get asked if we had advertising industry today on OSN Plus, specifically in certain countries, let's say in the Gulf, in Saudi, UAE, Kuwait, Qatar, it will be sold. So we don't have an issue there. The question is at what CPM? How does it compare to the tech company CPMs? But I think we don't have an issue selling. The question for us is, do we want to stay premium behind a paywall, maintain that premium experience for our customers, or do we want to go with advertising? And which one makes us more money? Because of the CPM issue. So I don't think it's a risk appetite from advertisers.
Historically, OSN didn't really share numbers when it came to their viewing audience. It was very much a black box. What's the policy now when it comes to OSN's viewing numbers?
It's still the same, and it's not for any weird reason. We're owned majority by Kipco. Kipco is a public listed company, so they wanna. If it's not in the public domain, we can't disclose it because it affects Kipco. But what we have disclosed, I think last year Q3 is the latest numbers we've given, and we don't do much on linear, but we've done on streaming. That we've hit between OSN and Anghami over 3 million subscribers. Those are paid subscriptions. This is the last number we have with growth, but we don't disclose much on the TV stuff, and we don't talk more about it.
All right. Should we do another question?
Another ball.
Yeah.
Local content, a launchpad for global influence or regional cage that limits growth. What do you mean, regional cage that limits growth?
if you're creating local content, right, you can excel in this regional, but it's not necessarily going to be widely adopted, seen, enjoyed outside of this region because it's local content. So is it a limiting force when it comes to geographically if you keep focusing on a local content approach?
I don't think it's limiting. I'm a believer. I'm a believer in local for local. And I think as now we're setting OSN Studio, I think we have we have an important decision to make on that. I mean, you want to produce shows that are very successful and stories that are very relatable and watched in their local markets. And some of those will resonate globally and will travel well. But if you're trying to solve the second part, you may mess up the first one. And you cannot have dual objectives because that generally fails on every aspect, on the story, on the way you tell it, on the packaging and who's acting. Like all of those decisions then fall in line. So I am personally a believer that in local for local. And we have a lot of great stories in the region. I mean, we're getting a lot of pitches right now. So a lot of great stories in the region. We have a lot of demand also for local content. We just need to produce them in a quality and that is acceptable for us and standards. And I do believe some of those will travel very well globally, but not all of those, and that's okay.
So where does the local for local? How do you reconcile that with best of the West? How do you bring those two together?
So the Western content, specifically Hollywood, travels well everywhere in the world. You can go to Thailand, Vietnam, India, Sweden. Everybody watches Tom Cruise. Everybody watches Mission Impossible, big blockbusters, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter. Those are very well-known brands, and that's very well established. And I think we have that. We've also expanded into some Korean, a lot of Turkish. We're talking about our Turkish shows. They have a really good following. I think what we're missing is a strong Arabic local proposition. I think this is where we wanna invest in. But I think together, when you put it, you have a well-rounded offering that can basically address most of the household, and then a bigger chunk of the market.
Yeah, I think Shahid had a lot of success when they first launched, but because they were representing a lot of the local content providers. Obviously, they took a lot of the NBC content and digitized it.
Yeah.
But also creating Shahid only or Shahid specials, particularly around Ramadan.
Yeah.
You see huge level of engagement when they create that. So the local for local, 100%. It's tricky when if you position yourself continually as trying to bring in the best from outside, but the growth also can be coming from this.
Where do you see it as challenging?
I see it because OSN for me is a Western driven content provider. That's my perception of it. Right or wrong, that was my perception.
Which is probably valid at this stage.
Which is why when I was looking for, which platform do I want to be on as Luca's Inside Track, OSN made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because it's an
English, exactly.
So that, and my show is premium, and the types of content, I try to keep it elevated, I try and keep it sophisticated, I also try to make it quite fun. OSN ticks a lot of those boxes, so for me it made a lot of sense. But I also know that there's a huge market when it comes to trying to appeal to the Saudi audiences mainly, because they have the higher.
So why don't we look at OSN in a different way and say, what if OSN now is not just, that bringing Western English content? What if it's the home of premium engaging content? And that will include the best.
I like it, but you need to invest where your money, where your mouth is.
Absolutely, and that's why we've not been investing over the last 3 years, because for us it's an all or none decision. Either you're in it or you're not. Investing in production is a bit like venture capital.
Yeah.
So this is my background in finance.
Yeah.
You can't do 1 or 2 shows and expect them to be hits. You have to build a slate, a well-rounded slate over multiple years, and then you will have your hit shows, and then you will build.
And the branding association, it doesn't.
Absolutely.
You can't build the brand in a year or two. But getting Anghami as part of your portfolio is brilliant, because they're a local hero, and we had this conversation when we met. Being a local hero has got huge potential, because the Arabs in this market, when you start to fight for them, represent them, embody them, they will love you all the more for it. So for me, how do you dial up that local hero in this region whilst also maintaining the premium perception of bringing the best from outside to this region?
I think there's a white space that is not fully addressed. It's being addressed a little bit with our competitors, but I think we can do more, and we can do it better. When we talk about local for local, and when we talk about Arabic production, also within Arabic production, within the Arabic audience, they're not all the same.
No.
Right? So you've got a certain type of audience that comes from free-to-air TV, that watches certain types of shows, but you've got a younger audience that relates to completely different stories, completely different issues.
And listen to podcasts a lot, by the way.
Exactly, and listen to podcasts a lot. And I think this is an audience that today may not find everything it wants on available, and this is where we can come and say, you're the same people that watch Succession, you're the same people that watch The White Lotus on OSN. Why don't I create few shows?
Succession. I love Succession.
Oh, it's amazing. It's
great.
It's amazing.
Great. You've mentioned something that's triggered a thought. So my background is in media. I worked in a media agency, right? So I love media stats. So here's a stat for you. Which country has more podcast listeners per capita than any other country in the world?
Per capita, okay. Yeah. So I was going to go to the US, but per capita I can go smaller now. I know it's a tough one. So the reason you're asking me, is it in the region?
It's Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
It's Saudi Arabia. 67% of adults are listening to podcasts once a week.
Yeah.
It's higher than anywhere else on the planet. You know what number 2 is? UAE. It's the UAE. The audiences are here, but there isn't enough media focus from the likes of yourselves. It's not about you. This is in general.
Yeah.
Podcasting hasn't been top of mind, and there hasn't been a lot of investment from an advertiser perspective. But if you look at the numbers, it's remarkable. Penetration of YouTube. Okay, YouTube is very good when it comes to podcast listenership. Right, it ranks top 2, 3 in the world. Highest penetration of YouTube anywhere in the world?
Probably Saudi Arabia.
It's UAE and then Saudi. Yeah. So all of the indicators are showing the audiences are there, they're engaged, they want podcasts.
Yes, it's a big space. The question is, are people willing to pay subscriptions to watch podcasts? Because today they consume it largely for free.
Mm-hmm.
Even YouTube, largely for free. They have a premium section,
Yes.
but largely for free.
Yes.
So as primarily a subscription today only platform, is that the main avenue for us? Or do we wait up until we grow or develop our kind of AVOD proposition, and then podcasting will be a main pillar out of it? So that's why it's not what we do, people are coming today for OSN and they pay the subscription because they expect to find certain things you cannot find elsewhere. Also, we need the podcasting industries to be developed enough. It's one of those industries where there are low barriers to entry. I mean, look at your setup. We're sitting on comfortable couches in your house. You've got a nice, few cameras, few lights, but that's it, right? Growing that is difficult. So you got to, low barriers to entry. There's going to be a lot of people going there. Which ones you want to back and why, and which audiences you want to address. So if we want to do this, we want to do this properly and want to, dissect the market, identify the segments, build the proposition, and then decide. I don't know if it's going to be a premium proposition. I don't know if it's going to be something where you would pay money to see, but it's definitely something that would fit on, let's say, an AVOD platform.
Okay. Should we do another question?
Yes, we've got a lot of those. Podcasting.
Look at that transition.
Yes. A disruptor, challenging big screens, or a side note in media's evolution. I think we've spoken a lot about it. I don't think it's a side note. I think it's all the talk shows or the daily shows, the morning shows, all of these are being replaced more and more by I think podcasts. So I don't think it's a side show. I think it has its space, specifically here in the region. I think and big players like us should be looking at it. Yeah. But again, we have our questions. As
I'm with you. From an advertising perspective, you talked about a lot of advertisers, clients are spending on the big tech companies. Yeah. Right? The Metas of the world, the Googles of the world. Yep. Generally speaking, they command anywhere between 70 to 80% of the digital investments. True. And digital represents typically around 65 to 70% of the total investment. So they have a huge...
It's a massive market share between three companies.
How much does the TV... How much does the streaming business command in terms of investment? Do you have any idea?
Listen, I don't think it's...
We're talking single digits or double digits, first of all?
I don't know if we've hit double digits because... Again, I don't want to name players, but I know the leading player in that, and I know their numbers, and the rest is, if you add them up, they're not going to add up. If it's double digit, it's very low double digit. So I think we're still in single digit. But again, it's an inventory issue.
I'm with you. Do you know what the percentage of investment is behind podcasting? And it's the last time I'm going to mention it. But what is the percentage of investment behind podcasting in this region from advertisers?
I don't know, but it's very low.
0.1%.
Yeah.
Well, I've just talked to you about the numbers. So the audiences are there, but the investments are not there. So
But it's also a question of reach too, right?
No, but the reach is there. The reach is there. The penetration is there. I mean, I'm telling you, in terms of consumption, there's more consumption of podcasting in the UAE and Saudi than anywhere else in the world per capita. So it's all relevant, right? So the absolute numbers may not be as big as the US, but that's fine for an advertiser because this is their primary market. So what do we, because collectively, I'm not representing podcasting here, but we all want to see a diversified investment strategy in your investment. See how I brought that back in by clients, where they're reaching their target consumer in the right way, but not depending on one single channel, such as social platforms, in order to do so.
Can I ask you a question? So you come from an agency background. See, I'm returning the favor. Yeah. So when you talk to agencies, so the agencies that I'm looking now at OSN, let's say as an advertiser itself, right? Yeah. What do they tell you? Why don't they add it to their portfolio that they offer their clients? What's the main hurdle you're facing?
So the challenge is with the end client. It's not with the agencies.
So the agencies are saying we're pushing the end client.
The agencies. What do the agencies? What do they want? They want a solution that hits a lot of people. So they will only try and convince their clients to advertise if there's good reach. Yeah. Okay. Yes, tick that box. 2, are those audiences addressable? Can we reach them easily, right? Can we target? Can we segment? The answer is yes. 3rd question is there a lot of clutter? Is there a lot of high competition in these spaces? Is my message going to stand out? In podcasting, it is going to stand out, so that's also a tick.
True.
So those are some of the main questions that an agency would ask of any media proposition. Following that, they would then take that information, take to a client, say, Mr. Client or Mrs. Client, this is what we have. They've got great reach. They have a very clean kind of audience. And you know what? There's high engagement levels, and we can target whoever we want to target when we want to target them. So the capabilities are all there, but yet the investment still lacks. It could be 1 or 2 or 3 different things. In my opinion, there is awareness issue, right? That you can do this and what are the options. 2, there's a fear issue, where clients and advertisers don't want to test and try and invest behind an unproven medium so far. Although I think Trump going on Joe Rogan's thingy has helped that, just like Obama did in 2008 for the social platforms, and all of a sudden there was a hockey stick moment on social platforms. So I think it is coming. So awareness one, fear number two, and then the third one is that there isn't really a centralized voice for it because there are so many podcasters, because there's so many different. It's like, well, who's the go-to? Who's that one channel that represents?
You need to go to. I think you can have multiple people addressing multiple segments, but they need to be of a certain scale, right? Like I think I can see this. If you want to target young female audience in Saudi, these are the two go-to. If you want to target businessman in the UAE, come to whatever inside. And I think this is how it's going to develop. The question is, and again, I've not looked at the space thoroughly because we're focusing on our premium proposition right now on our productions, but it's something that we're perfectly looking at. I'm excited about, and I think it belongs on an AVOD proposition. I think maybe if players like us get involved and they back those 10 different people, then ad agencies will be.
It's just logically, again, go through all the points, everything is there, but yet the investment isn't. And here's the thing, because I know a lot of these guys, it's personal for me, because I see the blood, sweat, and tears that they, and they come to me, they're like, what's going on? So I know you guys are doing some great stuff. We've got great downloads, we've got great reach, but yet no one's investing. What it means is that they're going to turn off the taps because they can't keep putting their hand in the back pocket. They give up. And that's what happens with podcasting. There's no investment behind it.
But that gives us a space to play in.
That is a massive option.
That is a space to play in, because then if it's becoming increasingly difficult for people to scale up from a certain point, from a certain level, having us back a bunch of play. So you convinced me. So that was the plan all along.
OSN championing the little guys.
OSN,
the local heroes.
Anghami as well.
Love it. And that's what it's all about. And I love Anghami for what they're doing. Right, next ball.
Perfect.
We're on a roll. That's the last question on podcast.
Build loyalty through privacy or unlock scale with data.
So this is the trade-off.
Yeah.
Do you want to protect your customers?
You can.
Or do you want to scale?
No, you do a bit of both, right?
I know.
And I think no. It's not because we say that, because we work in a lot of the cases in anonymized data. So I'm not really tracking Luca. I'm tracking whatever customer 1, 2, 3, 4 watched Succession, stopped in the middle of Game of Thrones, continued this, paused on whatever, liked Barbie by Margot Robbie. Like, I mean, there's a lot of data that will help me. The question is for a customer, and this is people always say, oh, I want privacy. Sometimes I don't want privacy. I want targeted things. I do want you to give me, specifically in media creation.
Yes.
You don't want to spend half an hour.
Or recommended shows based on what you like.
Thank you. So, okay. So let's start with that in mind. So the customer wants you to know him so you can recommend easily. So as soon as you open the app, I'm recommending 2 or 3 options for you that you're going to like. You don't want to endlessly watch trailers, zap, go down in rows, look at the hero banners, right? And if you want to know that, then I can learn a lot from your behavior on my platform without knowing it's you. So it is kind of private. We cannot track millions of people by name and what they do. And I can track that, and then I can recommend better for you. So I think that's the happy medium. I don't know if it answers your question, but I think there is a way where I can offer you as a customer what you want by using the data, your behavioral data, without me, crossing a privacy or person. Exactly.
Okay. Exactly. And do you think from an outsider perspective, because look, we're subscribed to so many different types of platforms, not just on streaming, but also on social. We're giving data left, right, and center. Do you think we are, as people now, as consumers, forget your CEO hat, right? As people, are we becoming more resistant to sharing data? Or, you know what, we've just accepted it is what it is. Khalas, let's go for it and share.
It's an interesting question, because I see both in people, and I think it depends on the psychology of the person. Really, like I have friends that are still very resistant. Oh my God, they're tracking my data. I'm very casual about it. I mean, track my data. Like I worry about echo chambers. That's what I worry about. Like when other companies or when other applications I don't want to be in an echo chamber. But other than that, I mean, you make that trade-off every single day in everything you do. During COVID, we all made that trade-off, right?
When do you think the regulation is coming for really clamping down on how data is being used? Because we have the likes of GDPR, obviously. In
Europe. I mean, Europe is a bit more advanced than the US, but I think the regulation always lags, but it's always going in one direction. The question is, specifically right now with AI and with the capacity that we have to process data, how far will it go? And I don't know that because it's a very, very difficult question to answer.
We're all asking the same.
We're all asking the same question.
But culturally, as Arabs, are we more forthcoming with sharing data? Or we're more resistant because you've worked everywhere, right? You've worked in Africa, you've obviously been in Europe as well. So
are we more forthcoming in sharing data? It depends what kind of data, right? I think you find financial data and medical data, which kind of be like, and maybe some other stuff which are no-goes, but let's say whatever, watching data, clicking data, you'd be more casual about it.
Yeah.
But again, I don't represent the Arabs. I'm speaking about myself and anecdotally what I see people around me. But I do think that there are areas where, and rightly so, we're much more protective.
Okay.
Right? Like, financial sector, like that's, a no-go. Medical, insurance stuff, all of that.
Again, anything that's personally identifiable becomes...
Personally identified, but also you don't want your data to... Like, you're very careful about where this data ends up and how it is ending up there. But I think in terms of other stuff, I think people are probably a bit more...
Do you know what I think it comes down to is ultimately, does the consumer trust the name of the company? All right? Do you trust OSN, I'm saying anything, to take care of my data? Do you trust OSN that they're not going to do something with that data that can impact me later on down the line? They're going to pass it on to a third party and so on and so forth. So building trust with a customer over a long period of time, I mean, that yields huge amounts of dividends, both financially as also from a loyalty perspective. But trust can be broken very quickly. And
that's why we have to take it very seriously, like in terms of your cybersecurity measures, in terms of your internal data policy, in terms of abiding to things like GDPR, etc., etc. Like all of these are things that we take very seriously. Now, again, at OSN, on the spectrum of data privacy, when we talked about medical, financial, etc.,
we're not there.
I mean, we're dealing with basically simpler data that has to do mostly with your behavior on our platforms and etc. So I think, and we've earned that trust from customers. But again, if there's a new bank, let's say, that opens up tomorrow, a digital bank, would I trust it? I'd be a lot more careful.
Yeah. So this is where the trade-off is, because on an AVOD model, the advertiser is saying, I want as much data as you can possibly share on that person, so I can target the right, bullseye targeting.
Yeah.
That's what the advertiser wants. The customer's like, no. So again, as the intermediary, you've got to strike that balance of being able to define and create a rich enough product that can be well advertised against.
Yeah.
But also, again, build that trust over longer term with your customers. It's not easy. But you're right. In some way, you're lucky. But now with Anghami coming in as part of that, you've got more data sort of sets underneath you, and you have a higher burden of responsibility because of that.
Absolutely. OSN's premium pricing reflects market dominance or a gamble on exclusivity? I don't think we're dominant in a sense that we're the only player or we have that much pricing power. Like if I take my prices up tomorrow by $10, I think customers will leave, right? Like I think there's a limit because there are other competitors. I don't play alone, right? They might not all be at the same level of premiumness of content, but there are other players.
Yeah.
So we do have some pricing power because of the exclusivity of the content we bring in, but I don't think we have absolute pricing power in the sense that we can get ridiculous and charge people a lot of money and that they will stay because we're dominant in that way. I don't think anybody in streaming right now is dominant in that way, but I think the very few that are on the top of the leaderboard, and you can know who they are, and gladly OSN is one of them now, have more pricing powers, and we've been taking our prices slightly higher and higher because the streaming proposition destroyed cable from whatever $70, $80 all the way down to like $10, and now you take it by $1, another $1, $2, and you see the 3-4 players at the top of the leaderboard having a bit of pricing power to be able to at least start making money and invest more in content for their customers.
How much do you look at competition when it comes to pricing?
Oh, we look very, very closely.
Is it quite a reactive market?
Yes, extremely reactive, because nobody was making money in the industry. You started hearing about profits in streaming maybe 2 years ago with first Netflix and then a bit Disney globally. I don't know if Max is on a whole, you can allocate accounts, but by and large, people lose money in streaming. And I think the pricing power is straight to your bottom line. So as soon as one is confident enough to raise pricing, everybody follows.
When it comes to your customer loyalty, have you tested out the elasticity of the trust with pricing? So, you know what I mean? So,
yes, and it's a bit, I would say it's a bit disappointing on the way down. So let's say if I drop my prices by, let's say, 25%, it's not enough to entice a big number of people to come. So if I want to expand my funnel a lot, I have to drop my prices much more aggressively, really aggressively. And I think this is the bit of the disappointing part. So, but again, because probably we're premium and exclusive. If you really want to watch these shows, they only exist on OSN. You pay and you know what you're getting there. So our clients are okay with that. They're not going to be sensitive on or elastic on a little, but they may be on a lot. And yes, they will be.
How sensitive are you as a CEO to when your friends or colleagues or people in the industry give you feedback on OSN? Not just the pricing, it could be anything.
The truth, you want the truth?
Yeah, I want to know.
Of course I'm sensitive, but I don't show it.
Yeah.
But
it must, yeah.
So it's really, this is one of the things when you asked me at the beginning, how is it to be the CEO of OSN? Yeah. Everybody has an opinion on what I do.
Of course.
Everybody. Like, a distant aunt can call me and say, what happened to that show? Or why are you playing this? Or why did you remove that? It's like everybody, it's media. Everybody has an opinion. You'll be on a dinner table and, people are criticizing, but also people are happy with what you have. And that's very different from all the other industries I've worked in where people didn't even know. But I guess it keeps you more engaged. It keeps you closer to.
But if it's negative, they give you a negative comment. Does it cut deep? Do you take it personally?
For me, I do. I don't like it, and specifically because every company makes mistakes, and we do. For example, when I first took over, our platform wasn't good. It was like we had great content, and we started to market it, and then boom. I remember we had House of the Dragon season 1.
Yeah, it was great.
5 a.m. in the morning, which is 4 a.m. Saudi time. The platform would crash from the number of people trying to watch it. And can you imagine from a customer perspective, you woke up, you had the alarm on at 3:45 because you wanted to go at exactly the right time it's going in the US, and then the platform fails you. I mean, I can't describe how bad I was feeling. And you feel also helpless because these changes are not changes you can make in a day or two. And I had to also kind of inform the board and tell them, and I'm glad they were very supportive and patient. Like, we have a roadmap to fix this, but it's not going to change overnight. So that was extremely, extremely disappointing. But I think by and large on content, every discussion I have, people like praise. We didn't know you had this. We didn't know you have that. Like, people are excited, and that's great. But I think from a technical perspective, sometimes you have issues with the legacy OSN, the customer care center, those call centers that annoy people because we've dealt with a lot of dealers. They call people and they annoy them, and it takes time to kind of clean all that up. So that actually, yes, it does get to me. I try not to show it, but it does get to me because I don't want that. I want the customer to have a perfect experience.
You want to be the best. Nothing wrong with that.
I think my competition sense is a little bit different. So It's not about just others, it's about myself. Like, I want to push myself to be the best that I can in every way I can. But it's not about just I want to be better than Luca, I want OSN to be better than that. I believe if you just push it to the best it can be, that's what it should be. And I want to be able to sleep at night with that high standard, knowing that I've done everything in my power to do that. And then we will see the result. Because I don't believe people or companies start from the same blocks. It's not like a 100-meter dash. We're all at the beginning and go. You're in a different situation. You inherit different portfolios, good, bad, etc. You as a person have different genetic makeup, different predispositions. We'd all love to be Michael Jordan or Federer, but the reality is you're not. And you may be something else as well. So try to be the best you can, and that's what I do. I try to be the best I can, the best the company can be. And then during that, of course, you're going to overtake people. You're going to and you're going to be much better.
So to take a breath, where does that drive? I know it's a cliche question, but where does that come from? The wanting to constantly outperform yourself and push yourself to your maximum limits. Because you do triathlons, man. You run marathons. I mean, this is, you wake up at the crack of dawn and you are a driven person. You make your own coffee, you grind. So you try and bring excellence to everything that you're doing. There must have been a trigger or something.
We all have, to a certain extent, some existential angst, and I feel we all seek meaning and purpose. And I believe that's how I go after mine. That's how I seek and I try to find my meaning and purpose by pushing myself in different directions. And when I do it fully, and I enjoy it fully. And if I don't, I stop and I find somewhere else. And I think on a deep psychological or philosophical level, it kind of feeds that.
So you're looking for the purpose, or you found it and you're trying to explore
No,
it?
the purpose, I know it's kind of a futile question. It's super philosophical. I can't help but grapple with it all the time.
Yeah.
But I think it's it drives you to go and look for it, and you find purpose through doing things, through building connections, through achieving, through overcoming challenges, through solving problems. You know what I mean? It does give you purpose, and then you learn more about yourself. You learn more about your purpose and the meaning, and it gives your life a little bit more of a meaning. And I think that's kind of really the heart of my drive, if I think about it.
Was there a time that you failed? Is there a memory that really comes to mind when?
Yeah. I mean, you have a lot of temporary setbacks. I mean, even in the deal that we've just announced with Warner, I mean, the deal died twice. Literally died. You get the phone call from LA. It's not working.
By the way, tell us, because we'll have to remove it from the AI. So it's still there. It's still there, right? The deal is still there.
No, the deal is done.
Okay, yeah.
Before it was done.
Otherwise, we'll have to change the picture. Yeah?
But these deals, for example, and a lot of deals I've done, they take they take a year.
Of course.
2 years sometimes to kind of build them, structure them, develop them. And yes, I've had two setbacks where I think last summer and earlier this year where it's like, it's just not working, and then you go and you take a break, and then you try to attack it from a different angles. And so I've had setbacks and failures like everybody, and but I guess the more you overcome, the more you build resilience, and then you stay with you stay with the problem longer. You try to be more creative, and you become calmer under pressure. All right, fine, we'll figure it out. Just give me a good night's sleep. I'll go for a run in the morning. I'll have my good coffee, and then let me show up and find a creative way to find another angle.
Let's jump to next ball.
Does on-demand abundance help or hinder viewers' clarity and loyalty?
There's too much choice. Too much choice.
Yeah. But I think that's... So initially, I would say, and probably till now, to a certain extent, it's hindering. It's the tyranny of choice, right? So many platforms. You don't know what show is on what platform. You don't know what you want to watch, and I believe this is now, up until now, actually not helping with clients' loyalty. And you can see it. We do this, what we call CX Summit, and where we talk about the industry and
customer experience
industry. And I said about 2 years ago, the biggest problem is not growth. We're growing, The biggest problem, alhamdulillah, is churn. How do you keep people? We can easily get people. We have so many good shows. We have a good brand. We can attract people. Keep them. And churn is massive, not only for us.
Employees. You're talking about employees.
No, I'm talking
about customers.
I'm talking about customers. We're talking about shows.
Yes.
Because customers' behavior right now is, I subscribe for 1 month or 2, depending on the length of the show, to watch this. Then I jump on this platform. Then I come back. Then I go. And that's very tiring. Specifically, if you contrast it to the days of cable. In cable, we'd negotiate our content deal.
12-month contract.
Easy 12 months. Anyway, you needed the satellite, you needed the box, you're like $120 out of pocket.
You should have seen my house in the UK. I had like 12 dishes. So my dad was like, because he was watching Arabic content, we had so many dishes on there. With every new box, there's a new.
You need a new,
Man.
But you made that investment.
But
you have to stay.
Yeah,
Now there's a certain segment of the market, usually on the younger side. Their habit is they cancel their subscription when they join. So basically, I choose if I want to renew with you. You do not get to charge me again. So I subscribe and I cancel at the same.
There are new rules,
and that is tiring. Now, I don't think that's sustainable, and that's gonna change because out of maybe 50 players in the region, not a lot will survive. Not a lot will be able to make money in the long run. So that choice will be more and more consolidated. Also, it's driven by consolidations that players like us are doing when we acquire an Anghami, when we do a deal with Warner Brother, when we kind of get together, and also with bundling with certain multiple platforms together, and or aggregation propositions like OSN TV. So when you think about it this way, over time, there'll be a limited number of people with good shows, and the customer will be loyal to those, but then the tail will suffer a lot. And I think this is really the crux of our strategy. Have a differentiated content offering. Make sure you're one of those must have part of that wallet, and then you would do moves like consolidating moves, bundling moves, etc. to get together. But that way you can push the tail out.
Elephant in the room.
Oh, there's not
much. Yeah. The question is, a lot of people have got those boxes that are illegal, right?
Yes.
Where they can watch anything that they want, anytime they want. Maybe not be in the best quality, but it's low cost. It's maximum choice.
Yeah.
Are you worried about that?
This is my biggest threat. This is today what's eating the biggest part of the pie for us, because they, not only for us, for everybody. And it's a global issue. And I'm glad that finally, regulators, in particular, very recently in the UAE, prior to that in Saudi Arabia, we can deal with them. They can shut them down. But I've described it in another interview like it's a whack-a-mole, right? Like you shut down this, they pop up here. But the objective is to make the customer experience so annoying that if you are a customer and you're willing to pay something, you then would say, you know what, I will come to OSN, I'll buy the real thing. But they have an advantage in value proposition because they don't only pirate me, they pirate everybody else.
Yeah.
So it gives you that one platform.
Yeah.
And that's why, let's say, a platform like OSN TV, which does the same effectively, will be a way to compete against them. But we can't compete on the price because they probably charge like $10 forever or something. Yeah.
No, not that much. But the Apple model is also great because Apple, they don't create thousands of new shows or movies. They have, but they're all pretty good. And I have to say it, right? I know it may be painful to hear.
No, it's not. It's not.
They have some really good stuff.
So they have good shows, and I think they have. There are a few good shows a year.
And
I don't think they have the right cadence, though. They don't have enough.
Yeah.
I think what will happen with us is because of the content that we have today, we already have a full offering with our Western and Turkish. I think if you add even some good premium Arabic on top of it.
And podcasting.
And podcasting.
Right, we got two more balls, my friend.
You count them. Are sports rights a strategic investment or a costly gamble on fleeting loyalty? It's not. Okay, so
why am I asking you this question?
Why?
Why do you think I'm asking the question?
Because you want to ask if we're going to get into sports.
So look,
look,
linear TV is basically, and a lot of subscriptions, whether you're Todd or you're BN or whatever the case is in this region, you wanna get sports rights, you're gonna have to pay top dollar for it, right? In terms of broadcasting, but it's extremely expensive, and you may not have the rights in 2 or 3 years' time. So where is the trade-off, laying down an investment to capture new audiences and to grow that versus potentially, having a shorter-term level of investment that may not yield higher and longer-term results?
So I don't look at sports rights equally. I think there are sports and there are sports.
What sports and what sports?
So, for example, there are sports rights that are tentpole sports rights that create loyalty, where you would get people to watch it, and they'll watch it, like, let's say, the Football World Cup.
Yeah. Premier League. Everyone will
Premier League.
Yeah, it's ongoing.
Yeah, exactly. Champions League. So they are...
Who do you support, by the way? Just a question before we go any further. Who do you support?
And I actually support Barcelona. So
okay, you had a good year. You had a good year. You had a good year last year.
I mean, it could have been better, slightly.
Yeah, like, it can always be better, but it's fine. It's good. You're not... Are you one of those Lebanese who either support Real Madrid or Barcelona?
No, Lebanese are not divided. I mean, Lebanese...
they were...
used to have the Bundesliga when we were kids on TV. So most of the Lebanese support, Dortmund or Bayern.
Okay.
But, yeah. So So, yes, you have rights.
By the way, you look like a Pep Guardiola of OSN.
I've been told...
Just because you said Barcelona and I went to Pep Guardiola, there it is.
He's in Man City, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Pep Guardiola of OSN right here. Sorry, I completely got... Look, I had to ask you that.
You're not the first. You're the fifth person that tells me I look like Pep Guardiola.
Okay.
Anyways, so I don't look at all rights equally. I don't think they all will drive the same level of acquisitions, retention, loyalty, etc. And for OSN, if we want to get into something, we want to do it right and strategically, i.e. I need to have tentpoles and round up the proposition with non-tentpoles things to kind of to give the customer enough for his dollars that he's subscribing. Having one thing is not going to help it. Having a weak thing is not going to help it. Sports in particular is an event watching thing, which means that people kind of flock in, come in when there's a big event, but then you need to engage them. So yes, I do see the merit of having gel entertainment with sports, whereby they come for the sports, they stay for the movies and the series until the next sports event, until the next game, etc. The problem is those particular tentpole that we would be interested in, and we've had them in OSN in the past, are extremely expensive that it does not make commercial sense for us to acquire them. And I wonder how the people that acquire them, and if they're making money out of those tentpoles.
Ever thought about being a politician?
Not at all.
No?
Do I strike you like a politician?
Look, I agree with you. Yeah. But yes, you do strike me as a politician. You need to be a CEO. As a CEO, when you're running a large company with hundreds of thousands of different employees under you, there is a political aspect. Everything that you say, everything that you do is scrutinized. What you wear, how you say, it's all part of that aspect. It's all part of that aspect.
I realize that people react and relate more to authenticity than to polished people.
100%.
But politicians in general, I mean, again, today's definition of politician is very different,
It's
right?
bad, and it's a negative one.
It's very different.
It's a negative.
But the connotation generally is that kind of polished guy that
100%.
measures every... I don't try to do that. I'd rather be authentic, because I do believe people can relate to you more and when people relate to you, then you gain their trust, they listen to you more, and then you can get your message across.
100%.
So I don't think of politics as...
But this is why you're seeing the Gen Z generation, can you say that, versus the politicians of today. That gap is widening, right? There's more and more distrust of the establishment based on the people in power, because the Gen Zers, they want authenticity, they want understanding, they want vulnerability. So the best CEOs now, the ones who've been, I mean, you know, you met Osman Sultan.
Yes, amazing guy.
Look, the guy is a legend in the telco industry, right? Him starting out now, he'd have to have a completely different type of persona in order to potentially be successful. Maybe not, but he'd have to think more about it than potentially he did beforehand. And it's the same for everyone. We all have to adapt to a new world of, you have to lead with authenticity, and that means answering questions that are difficult, but giving answers that are difficult to hear. That's authenticity. It's not trying to please everybody.
You know, Luca, I don't find it difficult. I find it easy. It's so much easier to be yourself than to try to be something else, right? I think it's more difficult to be that image of the polished politician that is measured in every aspect. I think it's much easier to just be yourself, and yes, be vulnerable. We've had difficult conversation at the beginning. I mean, I told my team, like, listen, it's not looking good. You know, but we're here. We've got the backing of the shareholders. Let's do it together. And then, okay, now this is going in the right direction. This is not, and I try to stay like this, and because it's easier for me, to be honest. And I believe it may not be good for a political career, but it may be it'd be more relatable for people I work with.
Look, if you bring people in, you allow them in, you show that vulnerability, they're much more likely to run through a brick wall for you than if you keep them at arm's distance, right? And you give them that kind of sense of, look, I'm the boss. We have a nice relationship, but let's not get too close. So
it's not just that. I feel like sometimes you have the air of invincibility because you have to show up and you have to be full of energy and every day. I've had discussions with some of my direct reports where I shared with them, because it was a common thing. Like, I've not been sleeping for the last 3 I've been stressed about that. Like, I feel I have these kind of chats. It's okay. Because as well, if they're going through the same, they're like, you know, me too. I can say, like, you know, I try to do this, I try to do that. And I believe this is more human, more real. And it's so easy to do because it's the truth.
And you can't fake it. Because, and also you need to do it over a long period of time. If you're faking it, you're going to get found out at one point.
People say, like, I feel people sense your energy, and especially people that are working closely with you. I mean, even last week, I've got, somebody came to me and said, "Are you okay?" Like, they sense, they feel you. You were not yourself in that meeting. You didn't have that right energy. So why try to hide it to just look like invincible? Just be yourself.
I love that. You can be a politician, but a new age politician, not the old school.
I'm too old for that.
You're not too old, my friend.
Last bold. Consolidate power or democratize choice, which holds the key to content longevity?
Consolidating of what you have versus trying to give everything away for choice, right? So, and you want to have longevity in the market. You want to give people as much choice as possible and make it accessible at a lower price, or do you want to retain and consolidate your power in terms of the content that you own, make it less accessible but with a higher premium? Which is
both models work, and if we're lucky enough, we'll be able to do both, but differently.
Pick one.
So
pick one.
I don't need to. Okay, so today OSN is in the premium subscription business, but your business model and your monetization model, it has to be coherent with your content strategy. You cannot have the best premium, $20 million an episode series and make it for free. You just can't. I cannot get those rights. I will never make money on those rights, and they're not meant to be this way. Also, my studio partners will not even accept to kind of dilute these brands. But there is content, and we talked about podcasting, we talk about other stuff, microdramas, like there's a lot of different types of content, all the library content where it is a proposition where, it could be an easy one, it could be an accessible one, it could gain you masses, it could promote the brand, it could get you into the household, get to people try you, look maybe at the phone, But then they can discover you, and then they may trust you and then upgrade and pay you. And I believe this is the right play, to have both if you can. But having both is a very careful balance. And a lot of companies that try to have both struggle of where they put
the identity. Yeah, the identity.
What are we? And again, so we ask ourselves question: what is the brand? Is it going to be under one brand? Is it going to be two different brands? How do we target people? What kind of content? Is it exactly the same with ads, without ads? So there's a lot of little things that we think about because today, if I have to choose, we're in that premium segment. Now I want to make a step in the other segment. To make that step, I have to make a careful one, because that's good enough and I can keep on growing there. But yes, it's a limited niche, and that's okay.
What about calling it something like OSN Premium versus OSN Lite?
You could, yeah. We looked at OSN Lite as one of the options.
Did you really?
Again, we can play with Anghami, Aflami. Like there's we have Anghami.
Did you really have OSN Lite as an option?
Yeah, OSN Lite was an option. Because internally we refer to it sometimes as a skinny or light offering versus the full fat.
Yes,
it's
It's a coffee thing.
Yeah.
Pleasure having you, mate. Pleasure having you. If you guys have liked and watched, by the way, watch me soon on season 4, right? Season 4 coming soon.
Hopefully.
If you've liked what you've watched, drop a like, comment, and share, and I'll see you very soon on Luca's Inside Track.